Because I think your name came to the forefront when you had to do the paternity test, and that became front page news. Why did it get to that point?
I think just so much of for a long time I enabled, and I felt like I had enabled his addiction because the abandonment during pregnancy, and then he meets with one of my friends, and after I'd had Navy, and he's like, "Do I even know if the child is mine?" It's like, whoa, what? So he's out here telling people that this child isn't his, and I was frustrated, and I thought, no, I just want him to take accountability because at this point, I was protecting him and not being a scandal towards him. And then you have a child and you become a mother. And, my love for her outweighs all of it. And, I'd break down any barrier for, I'm sorry, for her. And I knew that I was protecting the wrong person. And, it's her that I have to fight for and I have to protect, not him.
Right. And so obviously the court comes back and says that he is the father. How did he respond to that?
With a general denial. And I was kind of taken back by it because I didn't think that he would deny it. And then I didn't think, that he would deny ever even knowing me and want to know if he was even in the country during that time. And I was just like, I was so mind blown. Like it was, me and my friend, the mutual friend was actually here for Navy's birthday the other day. And we got to sitting down and talking. And she was like, that is like gaslighting 101. She was like, that is the biggest public gaslight of all time is what he did to you. Because at one point, I'm calling her and I'm like, this did happen, didn't it? Like, I did know him, right? She's like, oh my gosh, yes. I was like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. You read about those cases of these people with all these mental disorders, and now I'm feeling like, I've diagnosed myself with one. And she's like, no, like this is what needs to happen. Like, you're doing the right thing, don't let him gaslight you. And I just continued fighting for Navy and for that accountability. That's the one thing that I wanted. And I told my attorney that. I said, I just want a DNA test done. I want it done the right way. So he won't be able to stand there and say that not only does he not know me, that he doesn't know that he had a child.
So I know that eventually, as we've seen in the news, Joe Biden has actually mentioned Navy as being one of the 7 grandchildren, correct?
I believe so. They made a statement a little over a year ago.
Right. But up until this moment, has your daughter gotten to meet either one of them, meaning Joe or Hunter?
No, she's not met anyone from her paternal side.
And when was the last time you spoke to Hunter?
It would be when he found out that I had wrote a book. When you write a book, you have to sign things where you can't, tell certain people, or not certain people. You can't tell people, you can't discuss it until, it's in writing or until a certain date. And when the publisher and stuff released it, I was able to tell him, and he didn't handle it so well.
Oh, how did that conversation go?
He asked if it was a joke. And that was the last I've heard from him. He, he won't call Navy and talk to her. And I've reached out a couple times, even on Navy's birthday. And I said, it's Navy's birthday. She asks about you every day. And, you and I might have our disagreements and we might not see eye to eye, but don't let our child be the one to suffer from that. Because I don't feel like I went out of my way to bash him or bash his dad. I told my side of the story. I did that for my daughter's sake. I would want her to do the same thing. I would want her to stand up for herself.
And honestly, Lunden, it seems like it was for credibility's sake, though. I mean, had you waited for many, many years, then people have more questions about it, right? Like, You're running out of money, then you want money for, it or whatever. And it seems like it was just like, this is the time that I wanted to do it before my daughter got too old to not know who her real father was, and also give him the opportunity to step in, if he could. And so he's never even tried to do a FaceTime or a phone call. I mean, I know it's written that he does pay some sort of child support, so he does acknowledge that she is his child at this point, correct?
Correct. And, they've spoke on Zoom calls. And I also believe it's court ordered that he is to let her pick out a painting every month via Zoom and things like that. And that's how they were initially going to build their bond, was through, he claims, the two things that saved him at his darkest times were his family and art. So what better way to build a relationship with his daughter than through art? And so that was, that was the deal. But we've not heard anything else from him since the book.
But is that court ordered, you mean? I mean, is he not following court's orders? Are you thinking of taking him back to court so that she gets to see him again?
I feel like I shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, well, of course you shouldn't have to.
And it's right. And it's just, I want to give him, I tell people all the time, I've had years to process him in a book saying that, his memoir saying that he was being sued by an Arkansas woman that he had no recollection of, and then saying that I was hardly the dating type. I've had years to process that. And, I want Hunter to have time, and I want to give him grace to process my recollection, because I'm pretty for sure he's familiar with it, and it's probably a little triggering for him to read, because that was one of his darkest times.
So do you think that he's read the book?
I don't know. I've not read his. I've seen certain articles, and it was sent to me, what he had said about me and having no recollection. But I don't know if he will, because if I try to think about if I was in his shoes. Curiosity, yeah, you'd want to, but would you really want to relive a time where it was really dark for you, and then read, all this stuff about your daughter that you have this guilt and remorse for every day for not stepping into her life? I think it would be very difficult for him to read.
Okay, so Hunter's been in the news, obviously, in this last year, because not only with his father running for president, then, not running for president, but also because of the trials. He has an upcoming one, and then he was convicted on one. So, it's interesting to me, because if he was clean and sober, you would think that he would do the right thing. Like his mind would sort of reset, and he would say, well, let me reach out to my daughter. Let me make things right. And that hasn't happened, it sounds like, yet. So do you think that he's clean and sober at the moment?
I do. I think that he's clean and sober. I think that he has someone who keeps a tight grip on him. And,
meaning his new wife, or what?
I don't know. It may be like some form of handler to kind of watch over him. I wouldn't say like a babysitter, because he's not a baby, but someone who tells him, what, like a PR type person who tells him like what should and shouldn't do and stuff. And because of, I think, they've been under such scrutiny with this, especially, and not stepping into her life, no one really understands it. So I think he just treads, lightly.
Right. Okay. So he's been in the news in the last couple of days. He has a new tax trial coming up. There's criminal charges where he failed to pay more than $1 million. I think it's like $1.4 million in federal taxes. And there's been rumors that you might be on the witness stand. Is that true?
It is. Yes. I was notified that I do have to be there. I'm not really sure the details or who's asking me what or anything like that. But yes, I have been subpoenaed to be there.
Were you subpoenaed by the prosecution or the defense?
I believe I was subpoenaed by the prosecution.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Probably to talk about his use of money at the time you guys were together, or how much he's paid you since, or something. Interesting. So do you have any thoughts on, he's I think the sentencing could be 25 years, up to 25 years for the other thing that he was already convicted of. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, see, that's a lot. I didn't, I don't ever look into that type of stuff. I probably should, but I don't. I wish the best for him, because, he is my child's father, and I want her to have, the best childhood that we can make of the situation, that we're in. And so, I would hope that, he's able to get through this and be a father to all of his children. I definitely, would hate to see him go to prison.